Welcome to this Folktales podcast. Today we are going to talk about the main Great Britain's folktales during 19th to 20th centuries.
Fairy tales and folktales are so much more than entertainment. They reflect our history and culture, our fears and our dreams, when did we start to break them down and how had they changed over the time. For thousands of years, stories were told by storytellers or acted, danced and sung, handed down from one generation to the next one. Today, fairy tales, folklore, myth, and legend have a different place in our lives, but they are still shared between us, even if these are just wonderful made-up stories. Do they tell us anything more about people from the past, or about us? I believe they do. Come, let me show you.
The oldest traditional folktales come from India, China, the Middle East to expand to the Great Britain, and are stories about the life and imagination of the people, related to their fears and real life, which they are telling histories. In general, the themes are universal truths, lessons, and values related to the people of the region, and treasured by the group that creates the popular tale. The conflicts are usually resolved with great acts of human kindness related to the good and evil. Stories often tell what happens to people who do not obey the traditions of the group. Many of these stories were not created especially for children, but it is very likely that they also enjoy listening to them, because of the amount of fantasy that describes spells, enchantments, supernatural beings, and unusual objects. The places in these stories are usually described easily and in a fanciful way. They are places that must be adjusted to the geography and typical culture of the region. In Great Britain, they were related to cabins, forests, and magic castles. The histories begin with "Once upon a time" and end with happy endings. The characters are very bad or very good, with very exaggerated characteristics. They may have special abilities or powers, and the heroes of the story are usually young, fair, and in solidarity with the people they most need. These stories are often told in a third-person narrative, and the plot behind with a fast action that captures the interest of the listener and maintains it until the end.
In this part of the podcast, we can find some of the most relevant thematic and some of the most important authors used to use at that time. Some of them can be sins and omen. The main characteristic of this kind of tales was the idea of some authors to separate humankind from beasts, fish and fowl. It's imagination, curiosity, and our impulse to ask questions. History and gods. They can be history and religious stories, often intertwined with mythology, a mixture of magic and reality. Fairy tales, global tales. These kind of thematics tend to be about families, siblings, and stepchildren. There's nearly always magic. They tell us captivating stories of jealousy, betrayal, love, hate, quest, sacrifice, and transformation. And the last one, stories of abandonment. Finally, the main characteristic is the terrifying tales of parents abandoning their children.
Now we will talk about the main folk tales, and the first story we have Little Red Riding Hood, published in 1810 in London, and his creator is Charles Perrault. Who wrote the story? The French author Charles Perrault collected these tales and published them for the first time in 1697. This is why to the general regard and the father of the fairy tale genre. What is the meaning in the history? Like most fairy tales, Little Red Riding Hood and the Moral in the Heart. The moral in the history is that people are not always who they appear to be, and stronger cannot be. The second story is a Nancy Store's popcorn with illustration and dust jacket created in 1988. The creator was Joseph Olubo, and Nancy Spider-Man is the hero from many tales on travel to the West Africa to the Caribbean. He is both Spider-Man and anything from the Beverly Road to the Witty Brides. The creator of the book, Joseph Ideklu Olubo, was an artist and book illustrator active in 1980. He participated in some of the first art exhibitions organized for British black artists in the United Kingdom. Olubo was one and 22 artists featured in 1983 inaugural her an exhibition to the Black Art Gallery and Art Space in London and worked in artists of Africa and Caribbean origin. The third history is The Fables on the Aesop and Others, translated to the human nature. It was published in 1857 London. The creator is Aesop and Charles H. Bennett. These stories and colorful illustrations are from The Fables on the Aesop by Charles H. Bennett, a prolific Victorian illustrator. Bennett transforms the animals from the original histories to the half-man, half-animal and comical creations, and the fables use anthropomorphism to explore ethical dilemmas and different aspects to the human nature. The animals depicted speak to each other and experience human emotions, and their behaviors often show and they use their wits and triumph over adversity. The fourth tale is Google You Up, Post 2013 Chennai. The creators are Gita Wolf and Sunita. It devours you. It was based to the fable from Rajasthan, India, about the greedy jackal who keeps eating other animals. Who was this book made? Sunita, the artist who illustrated this handmade book, is from the Minya community of Rajasthan, India. The women of Mena decorate the walls and floors on their houses. They are an art to the firm called Maldana painting. Sunita artwork for the Google You Up. They are made in the same style. The author Gita Wolf, 1956, is Indian author, editorial creator, is one of the founders and the Indian published Tara Books.
To conclude, it's important to say that the Sfortals and the authors of them were very popular in that time. They form part of the cultural and literature history of UK and probably for the world. We just hope that you have understood the importance of them. Well, that's all for today. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure for us that you are here today. See you until next time.